Cool. Wonderful. See if you can see my mat. Yeah, all good, Paul. Nice, Emma. Is Marley here? They're all here. Let me just double check that. Cool. All right, then we can start our session. Welcome. There's some people online. At the moment, just South Africa. But during lockdown, I had people from all over. Okay, so we'll start as we do in a seated position. And the reason we do that is just to kind of create a moment of pause between whatever this day has been and to prepare ourselves with some stillness. So you can come into a comfortable seat, close your eyes. And use this moment to arrive. We have physically arrived on our mats. We are here. But then sometimes our minds can still be very busy with other things, which is very normal, depending on the activities you've been doing. And notice that without judging. So if the mind is still busy with planning for the rest of the evening or the week, notice it. Or if your mind is busy with kind of digesting things that happened today or in the beginning of the week, notice it. And the noticing is enough. And then in order to draw yourself into this moment, you consciously decide to focus on your breath. So you notice your inhale. And you notice your exhale. And every time your mind wanders to other things, just observe it and draw your attention back to your breath. Your breath is always there for you. And the breath is very important during our yoga practices. There is even a theory in yoga that the slower we breathe, the more prana we have, the more life force we create for ourselves. Breathing slow has a physical effect on our body. Our diaphragm expands, but it also has a beautiful energetical effect, a calming effect. And it also slows you down and calms down your central nervous system, moves you away from potential stress or anxiety and more towards yourself, towards calmness and grounding, a grounding sensation. So notice when you inhale, how there's space in your chest, an expansion. And on the exhale, try to focus on your belly button and then your tummy and how that area softens. You can even softly pull your belly button a little in towards the spine without forcing. And then you breathe into the chest. Broader, more open. And out. And you can gently pull the navel in towards the spine. Now in our yin yoga, we can breathe into the nose and even out through the mouth. We are encouraged to make our exhales longer than the inhales. That also has a calming and a regulating effect. And we sit still for a couple more rounds of breath. So the breath can be your focus throughout the full class. And every time you notice you're thinking of something else, you just remind yourself to draw yourself back to the breath. You can also add an intention, gratitude. So you can give your mind, for example, gratitude. You can give your mind something to do else apart from breathing, apart from conscious breathing. And often gratitude is a very accessible intention because you simply just count your blessings. Every time your mind wanders, you know your breath is there for you, and you think about your loved ones, the fact that we have shelter, food on our plates every night, and just start to really go towards the appreciation of all that we have. You may place your hands in front of the heart if you feel comfortable with that. It's an acknowledgement of the right and the left, a wish for balance and a sattvic, healthy life, which this practice also contributes to. A moment to just be grateful, maybe set your intention. And then we humbly bow our brain towards our hearts to seal our practice in. And we'll start into Supta Baddha Konasana. So you can use a prop underneath your hearts. You don't need my scarf. I didn't know how cold it was going to be. Before I left to Botswana, it was quite cold here. So let me demonstrate. So in our yin practice, there's many different variations, and it's about you finding the variation that works for you. So you can use a block, you can use a prop, you can use a bolster, whatever you have at hand, and you place it underneath your heart, right underneath the heart. So not in the lower back. The only thing that I'd like to ask you to check, the Baddha Konasana feet or soles of the feet to touch, nice opening of the hip. Your neck is important. So if you drop your head and you feel that there's too much pressure here, I would really encourage you to use a second prop. I'm going to do that myself. So the neck is not strained in any way. So the chest is nice and broad, and you can lift your hips a little, settle into the hips. So choose your variation, your own height. A last thing I'd like to add is that if you have very tight hips, and you feel that your hips can't relax, you can place a pillow or two on the outside of your knees. So Jeremy, you can bring your soles of your feet to touch like a butterfly. You're happy you're there? Okay. This is less of an opening, but it's totally cool. Margarita looks good. And if you put your heels closer to your groin, it's a stronger stretch for the hips. Doesn't mean it's better. So one of the things in yin is that often less is more, because you want your body to be able to relax. So if you feel that your hips are actually tightening up because the heels are quite close to your groin, then I would suggest to move them a little bit away from the groin. So it's up to you to search. You all look quite good online as well. And then we go towards stillness. So in our yin practice, we hold our shapes for about 4 to 5 minutes. One last physical adjustment that you can make is to choose what you do with your hands. So your hands can either be on your body, which is quite nice to have a contact and a touch with your own and with your breath, or you have the hands resting next to the body. And then I would invite you to have the palms facing up. Lovely to close the eyes so you get less distracted through the information that runs, all the stuff that happens outside of yourself. And with closing the eyes, it's also a symbol of, going inward, spending time with yourself. And then the breath can be your priority. So again, on the inhale, feel the chest rise. Maybe you count the inhales to be around 4 to 6 counts of length. And on the exhale, try to soften the belly and the belly button. In through the nose. And a gentle opening of the lips and an exhale out of the mouth. So in the inhale, it's an expansion, a broadening and breathing towards the chest, which might be accomplished by visualizing something that expands. For example, a fountain, a flower that blossoms, or maybe your own image. And the exhale is a softening towards the belly button. And it's also sometimes compared to a lake. So you could imagine your belly being a bit of a space where water could sit, and that water just starts to sink down towards the floor into the belly button on the exhale. At any stage in the yin practice, you can do a little sigh. It's also softening. Soften the skin on your face, your jaw. A little bit of space between the back teeth. Helps your jaw to soften, helps the skin on the face to soften. And from here, we'll just be still until I tell you it's time to move again. That doesn't mean you're not allowed to move. If at any stage it gets too intense, whether that is for physical or mental reasons, you can move, not a problem. But if you can, try to just be still. So you're stretching into your deeper connective tissues and really calming down your central nervous system. Stay with your breath. We do 2 more deep, slow rounds of breath. Then you can bring your hands towards your head, towards your skull, behind your head. And with the soft strength of your arms, lift your chin towards your chest. So you're holding onto the back of your head and you're lengthening the neck. And then from there, you safely roll onto the side. So let one knee come up and then you can just roll onto the side and back up into a seated position. Good. Let's focus a little bit on the hips. So we start with a half pigeon on the right side. So you can come into your hands and your knees and you'll bring your right knee to the right edge of the mat. And then your shin will be diagonally. So I like to just aim for the right knee to be behind my right wrist. The leg can be closer to your groin or a little bit more forward. Notice when you judge one thing better than the other, because the biggest thing is actually to close your eyes and feel what feels good to you. Yeah, so Tony, you can even move your knee a little bit more to the side, diagonally, perfect. You can slide your knee back. Now, some people, if you're more up, you can also put a block under your right bum. You feeling good there, Tony? Good. And then we can come down onto our elbows. You can use a block or a pillow underneath your head just to keep a little bit of space. Now, one thing that I'd also like to mention, I've mentioned it often in the yoga practice, in the yin practice, is that yin is not necessarily easy. There's probably an edge to certain shapes. Certain shapes will be easier than others for your body. And other shapes where you hold more tension. Now we're working on the hips, for example. It might be that your hips are quite tight. And after quite a short amount of time, you start to feel that the body is like resisting. Try to use your breath to stay in a shape, except if you have really sharp pain. Then you move out. Otherwise, you try to use the breath and to stretch into deeper connective tissues, and for the relaxing effect of your breath to actually almost soften and move away from resisting. In our yin practice, we do not believe in I have to stay there or I should be doing more. It's actually really an exploration of that edge, a curiosity, a fascination on your own body and your breath. And the time that we spend in these shapes will allow you to feel things and to stretch into parts of the body, open into the body that, yeah, you normally don't really allow yourself to do, for the simple fact that we don't allow ourselves the time. And also stillness. I think the fact that we live in Scarborough, most of us are not so afraid of stillness, otherwise we wouldn't live here. But being still and just accepting the being is a very good thing to practice. It's uncommon and unknown in our Western society, which is very based on doing. So if a bit of like uncomfortable sensations arise, or frustration, or thoughts of like, oh, this is uncomfortable, just try to breathe and be comfortable with the uncomfortable. Your breath is there for you to draw you into this moment, into this precious moment, and for you to be with what is. Now for the last 2 minutes, you can choose to stay here or to add on a little bit of a back bend. That means that you bring your hands back under your shoulders. You can even place them wide. You don't have to do this. You can place them wider than your mat, so your chest is upright. And then you can close your eyes again and soften the shoulders, or you can stay down. Different variations. Just allow your body to stretch in different places. So pick the variation that just feels good. And feeling good to you, I often refer to two elements. One is that you can smile, then you're in the right place, and that you can breathe freely, slowly, deeply. Stay with the breath. Remember the intention of gratitude. So when you notice your mind go into a place of like, oh, this is hard, this is uncomfortable, think of your loved ones, your family, and all that you have. Couple more rounds of breath. Can you slow down the exhale? Around 4 to 6 counts to breathe in. Last nice deep breath. 6 to 8 counts to breathe out. Now, if you are down, start to also slowly walk your hands towards your right leg. So you have an upright chest. And then we all just roll onto the right bum. And your back leg can swing around to the top. I will mirror you. You can bring the sole of your right foot on the inside of your left leg. Yeah, if you need to, you can feel that. Good. Now, one thing that is important in these shapes, and there's no judgment here, is that if you feel that you're very rounded, I would definitely suggest to sit on something. So the expression, when in doubt, just go a little bit higher, because then from that rounding, you can actually find an upright position and a grounding through the sit bones. Just want to show you that variation. I have belts as well, if you want to use the belt. And then from there, you just lift your chest and look towards your left foot. You can even wiggle your toes. Hello, little toes. And then you bring your body over your leg. Now, as soon as your body is over your leg, with your eyes closed, can you know where your right sit bone is? And can you feel if that right sit bone is still on the floor? One important thing specifically in yin is that we try to relax our shoulders. The area of our shoulders is where we carry a lot of stress. So I would suggest to just use that and then do the same thing and just walk your hands forward, see where they go. Yeah, without making too much stress on your shoulders. Yes. And the same for you, Jeremy. I would rather use the belt so you can relax your shoulders and roll. Yes. So go a little bit more for that. Yes. It's a little bit more active. You feel the difference? Is it good? No, you want as little tension in your shoulders as possible. You can close your eyes. So one of the things that is so interesting in yin, which was also interesting for me to learn, is that we often think that if the shape looks deeper, that we are doing more. But sometimes when we really want to hold onto our feet and our shoulders are coming up to our ears, we're actually creating more tension. And when we create more tension, our body can't relax. So you want to feel free in your neck and your shoulders. And at the same time, yes, you will probably feel something around the left calf, maybe the left hamstring. If you feel it strongly behind the knee, try to have a little bend or even have something under the knee. So you want to feel most of the sensations in your calf, in your hamstring, in your bum, or maybe even towards the kidneys in the lower back. Take a breath in. You can even roll the shoulders a little up and then exhale. And I often think of a giraffe. I mean, just coming from Botswana, a long neck, long, spacious through the chest. And then we bring our pranayama, our breathing back in. So into the chest, out towards the tummy, and the relaxation of the abdominals. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Notice if you're clenching your jaw. So sometimes when something is intense or new or we're focusing, we tend to put our teeth together and start to clench our teeth. So relax. Focus on the back teeth. A little bit of space between the teeth all the way in the back of your mouth, and that will relax the rest of your face as well. And let's be still to the end of this shape. One more deep breath in. One more deep breath out. Release your belt or your foot and slowly come back up. Nice. We can lie on our back and make sure that your block is quite close by for supported bridge pose. So your feet are hip width apart. Now this is a stretch that I absolutely adore because it's very good for your psoas, your hip flexors. So your feet are hip width apart. Again, remember, often less is more. So you just lift, first lie down. It's the safest for your lower back. Then you lift your hips and then you place something, a block. If you have a wooden block and it's the cork ones are quite nice. Okay, everyone's quite good. Are you okay with your wooden block there, Margarita? Okay, because if it's too much, you could put a scarf or something over your block, so it's a little less hard on your sacrum. And then you try to have your feet hip width apart and the ankles right underneath your hips. I'm just going to place your feet right so you have open hips. Yeah, so that weirdly, that is straight because your feet are the same. So try, yeah. So actually the brain connection to the ball of the big toe. Can you feel the ball of the big toe in the floor? You try to keep that into the floor and then relax the feet. As soon as those start to lift up, means that you have lost connection in the hips there. Good. Yes. Nice. Nice, nice, nice. Good. And your palms can face up, Tony. Yeah. So that's openness through the chest and an energetical receiving, but specifically an opening. Well, because we round forward a lot. And having the palms down is not wrong, but it's more like, oh, I want to just hold on to the floor. Well, if we open up the palms, it's also allowing us to just be with what is, feel a little vulnerable with our hearts open and our palms open. Our palms are an extension of our hearts. And take a couple of nice breaths. A sigh is always welcome. So a sigh in society is often kind of labeled as dramatic. Obviously, if we do it in a situation where you go, hey, it's different. And if you're just here in our yin practice and you're like, okay, I feel that the pressure is building up. And I just want to release any of that residual energy. You just let it out over the mouth. That's always welcome. Focus again on your breath. So this is an inversion. Your hips are higher than your heart. Your heart is a little bit higher than your brain. And it's very healthy for the central nervous system, but also for the energy flow in your body. It stimulates the process of cleansing. So every breath you take, you are cleansing the body, the mind. Because your body is constantly trying to digest, and then not just food, also things you see, you said, you have been told, separating, digesting, this serves, this doesn't serve, this is kind, this is unkind. And it's, our brain is just like that. It's like good, bad, and that's okay. It's totally fine. But we can assist our bodies in that process by breathing slowly and deeply, and inversions also assist that process, both physical and mental, energetical digestion of life, which creates space for more prana, so more life force. Keep the big toes and the balls of the big toes connected to the floor, and we'll be still. I'll let you know when it's time to move again. Just stay with your breath. And it's the not engaging, the effortlessness that allows your body with every breath to just create a bit more space. Couple more rounds of breath here. 2 or 3 nice, deep, slow breaths. And then from here you can choose. I've got many different variations. So you can lift your legs. If your legs are on the stiff side and you feel that they're shaking and it takes you a lot of effort to keep them up, I can bring a belt and I can just bring, oh, be careful there. Yeah, I can bring a belt around your feet. So you want your feet to be hanging as if they're hanging from the ceiling. So you want them to be relaxed, knees soft, ankles soft. You can stay there, or you can bring your knees. So you create a little plateau with your hands and you bring your heels to your bum and then your knees come closer to yourself. Just see how that feels. Which one do you prefer? Or you can go to a full ear pressure pose, deaf man's pose, where you bring your hands to your hips. Just make a mental note that there is a block behind you, or already immediately remove it. And then you can just have your hands around your hips. You've created a little ball of yourself. I just hook my thumbs around my hips, walk my elbows a little in, and then rest there. So you basically have 3 options. Legs up the wall. You can have your knees into chest, heels to the bum, so you're a little ball, but your hips are still resting on the block. Or you can be in this position that I am in. I'm not saying that this is a better one, it just feels good to my body, where you're in deaf man's pose, knees quite close to your chest, feet dangling over your head. Just notice if you can breathe freely and if you can smile. And if those 2 things are in place, that means you are in the right place. Also a slight inversion, a bit of a stimulation. Also lymph drainage when we are in an inversion. It's good for our lymphatic system. So try to bend your knees there, Jeremy. Yeah, and then just hold on to your hips. You can even bring the thumb to your hip crease and have your fingers around the sides of your bum, around the hips, so you can relax. There's not too much engagement. Not so easy to breathe here because your lungs are kind of drawn towards each other. So if you feel that this is restricting your breath too much, please prioritize your breath and take a different option where you can breathe more freely. Nice pull, also Marley. And close your eyes and just stay still. Notice your breath. Notice if it's easier or harder to breathe than the pose before. I'm slowly gonna close the door. I can feel a little draft. The sun is setting. Remember to relax your jaw. Relax your toes, a little wiggle. Happy toes, and then let them be still. Tenseling in the feet is also possible because the feet are up. The highest, probably one of the highest points of your body at the moment. So if you feel that, just acknowledge it. New sensations, interesting, fascinating. Something is shifting and changing. Let the breath be there for you. Gratitude as an attitude on and off our mats. Soften the skin on your face. A sigh is always welcome. Relax the body and be still. If you had a block and your hips are not touching your block, make sure it's not in the way when you roll down. If you have a block, don't worry. You can just slowly bring your feet back down towards the floor. If you don't have a block, you can roll the spine down towards the floor. If you have a block, you place the feet back down to the floor, lift the hips, remove the block, and then you simply come lie onto your back for a little rebound where you bring the feet hip width apart. You can bring your right hand to your belly and your left hand to your heart, and just be still and notice the effect of the shape. Where do you feel any sensations? If you were in quite a deep shape, you might feel it around your shoulders, the release, and check in with your breath. 3, 4, 5 rounds of breath, depending on the pace of your breath. Feel the rising and the falling of the chest and the tummy towards your hands while you breathe. Gently roll onto a side of your choice and sideways come back up to a seated position for our half pigeon on the left side. So you can be on your hands and your knees. Your left knee is going to aim towards the left side or behind your left wrist. Your shin is in a diagonal. So the alignment cue, which is quite helpful, is that your frontal hip bones are pointing straight forward. So you're not leaning to a side. Your frontal hip bones, your hips are actually level with the front of the mat. And you can slide your right knee backwards. Remember that you can put a block under your left buttocks just to support your alignments. Play with what works for you. I had a block. I had my chest like kind of half upright, which felt nice and free. Yeah, that looks good, Tony. How does it feel? Good. You feel it in the, not hurting your knee, yeah? Cool. So our head is also quite heavy. All the brains are heavy brains, but also the skull. It's actually quite a heavy part of our body. And your neck and shoulder muscles carry your head. So letting the head rest for just a couple of minutes can also relax behind the ears, the brain itself. Relaxing the brain itself, allowing it to just slow down, calm down. The organ on its own already, for it to just be still and supported is quite nice. Notice where you feel most sensation. So maybe in the front of the right hip, or maybe on the inside of the left hip. Maybe it's the left groin. We are all different. We hold on to tension. We hold on to emotion in our body as well. Our bodies keep score of everything we do, of not only our physical activities, also what we eat, what we drink, the stress and the emotions that life brings. We hold on to it. So this allows for your body to just let go of anything that doesn't serve, to be still, to heal, to create space for a new life force. Create space in the body and the mind and the heart. Stay with your breath, relax the face and the jaw. Self-care, proper self-care. Interestingly, because we are not 100% symmetrical, one side might feel much more intense than the other side, depending if we're right-handed, left-handed, dominant on our right or left leg. So the edge might present itself earlier or later on this side compared to the other. And that awareness is also so very useful and interesting. Option to stay where you are, or to add a little bit of a back bend where you bring your hands close to the shins. I like to have the hands quite wide, fingers to the outside of the mat, and then draw the shoulders consciously away from the ears. Go somewhere where you can smile and where you can breathe deeply and slowly and freely. Two, three more rounds of breath here. If you are down, start to also slowly walk your hands towards your left leg, lift your chest, and then together we roll onto the left bum. It frees up your right leg, which can slide all the way to the front. I'll mirror you again. So your right leg is going to be out to the side. Your left foot is going to be on the inside. Remember, if you were sitting on a block, I think, Tony, you were sitting on a block. Maybe also Jeremy, I don't remember exactly. And then your belt will come in. Both sit bones are equally grounded onto the floor. Lift the arms up. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Acknowledge your right toes. And then find your belt. And then check in with your shoulders. If you're rounding, so most of the stuff that we do all day long is rounded forward. You know, we're stressed, we're closed. So in yoga, we actually want to counter that and have a broad sensation in the chest. That's it. Very nice.
Is the posture to get your shoulder.
So it's actually not the posture, it's the sensations. So you do you feel something stretch here? Then it's the right. So sometimes when we go too deep, it's actually the muscles can't relax. You know, we go here because we absolutely want to touch the toes. Well, it's better to have a straight spine and still feel that you are creating space in the body, and you can breathe, right? Slow and deep, because sometimes if we try too much, it's not yin anymore, and then it takes our breath away. Good question. It looks good to me, yes. And we are all different, so it's not going to look a certain way. It's going to feel a certain way. And we will also feel things differently. And the only thing, as I said on the other side, it's when you have overextension, you might feel most of the sensations around the insertion points of the joints. Then you want to protect that, put something under so you feel it more in the bulky part of the muscles. You want to relax your shoulders, relax your neck, breathe freely, relax your jaw. Feel the ribs expand, so there's space between the ribs when you breathe in. Space for the diaphragm to stretch. And the exhale. Energetically, things just come back to neutral without really changing the shape of your body. Moving prana. Increasing the life force with every slow breath. How slow can you breathe without it feeling like you're forcing the last bit of your in and exhale? So it's not like I need to breathe more in. It's a graceful, slow in and exhale. It's not forceful. And one of the biggest things that yoga also teaches us is that when we feel triggered, when we feel an emotion arise, also off your mat, when somebody is irritating you or you feel angry or sad, often we say, take a deep breath and concentrate on a part of your body. For example, your hand. Can I feel my hand? And it will draw you away from that moment of potentially impulsively reacting. You just take a breath and focus on your right or your left hand, for example, or in your tummy on something, and that moment will pass. It's very interesting. That split second of just taking a breath and focusing on your body regulates and will often make you react differently. It's a massive tool that we have, but you just don't use it because we don't always practice it. So practicing breathing slow, knowing that your breath is actually a tool. We practice that here on our mat so we can use it also off our mat. It's also a very meditative practice. The stillness. The practicing of gratitude, the focusing on your breath. It's like an hour of meditation while you create space in the body and also in the mind. Digest your day. Take 2 more rounds of breath here. And then we will transition to our last asana. Asana means shape, which is called pentacle, or in our vinyasa practice, we call it shavasana. Just make sure that you're warm enough for a couple of minutes of total surrender. So you can slowly lift your chest and prepare yourself for shavasana with your feet as wide as the mat. You can roll all the way back. Palms are facing up. Option to put something over yourself, a towel, a blanket. Some people like to create extra darkness by putting something over their eyes. Palms are facing up, and then just let the feet fall out to the side. Let the fingers be relaxed. Just be totally still. Yogis at home, you are in your own space. We have all the time to stay or to even use this calm energy that we have created for ourselves to just meditate or journal and just stay inwards here in Scarborough. You can keep your eyes closed and just notice the lovely energy on your mat, how good your body feels. You can keep your eyes closed, but start to wiggle your fingers and your toes. All the lovely small, beautiful bones in your hands and your feet. Your body is amazing how it just heals and constantly works for us, processes. You can make the movements a bit bigger, pointing and flexing your feet. Maybe create fists with your head, or if you feel like stretching your arms overhead and do a big stretch as if you've just woken up, like a morning stretch, but just after. Wiggle your hips a little and then move your knees closer to your chest. Keep that slow pace. And with the eyes closed, you're still symbolically and also physically just choosing to keep your energy towards yourself. We give a lot to the outer world, so these hours of just self-care are really, really important. You can roll to a side and just pause there. Use the bottom arm as a pillow for your head. Take another deep breath in once you're there. Maybe even a nice sigh out of the mouth. Close to the floor, grounded, calm, present. And then sideways, just brush yourself back up into a seated position. Cross-legged or kneeling. And then we close our practice with just placing your hands on your heart center, one hand on top of the other. Maybe you can gently, subtly feel the beating of your heart, the beautiful organ that keeps you alive. Energetically, our space, the heart space, a space for all the connections, relationships, and energy we share with people around us, animals around us. We can be grateful for all those connections that in the end create our reality and our life. And I'm grateful for you. I've missed you both online and here in the studio. It's really good to be back. Stay there or place your hands together to close our practice. Let's bring our calmness into the rest of the evening. Our energy is important that we bring into the space of others. And let's take the gratitude with us as well. Namaste. Take all the time, stay slow, stay calm. I'm just gonna say goodbye to the online yogis. Perfect time for sunset here, golden hour. Bye, Paul. Lovely to see you. Your hair is still growing. Bye, Emma. Enjoy the fire there.